We are recording via Skype to a long, long way away. We're here with Aaron White. Thank you, Aaron, for being with us.
No problem.
Aaron, we're going to do a little different. Part of your introduction, we'll try to make it a little intriguing for our viewers. So without saying your actual city, Aaron, give us a description and see if we can figure out where you're from.
Well, the area that we live in and where our community lives and prays and does its stuff is sort of 10 square blocks. Our neighborhood is considered the poorest postal code on our continent. It has open drug use. It has open prostitution. It has an HIV/AIDS transmission rate that's higher than Botswana. It has actual areas where heroin is prescribed to people because they're in such desperation, such a desperate place that they're just dying on the streets, and so the solution has been to just provide them a safe place to come and shoot up. We're having challenges now about the legalization of brothels in our neighborhood, and just recently, a serial killer was convicted and sentenced to jail for having organized, essentially, sex tours of people coming to our neighborhood and picking up the prostituted women on our streets and taking them out to a farm and drugging them, raping them, torturing them, killing them, and feeding their body to pigs. And we've had dozens and dozens of women go missing on our streets over the last couple decades.
Aaron's a part of 24/7 prayer, a boiler room that we've had the privilege of connecting with. Source is also a boiler room here in the States. And boiler rooms are 24/7 is an international community and organization. And Aaron, you've told me stories before about being able to you guys are very unique in the fact of the stories you just told are just incredible, but your community has personally got to know women involved with sex trafficking and prostitution. You have a rhythm of doing weekly visits just to check up on people. You've had individuals stay in your own home that are trying to recover. Speak into that a little bit.
Yeah, well, we should probably first let people know that that I'm in Vancouver.
Vancouver. So you're not in. Your garb would maybe make us think that you're in Eastern Europe or maybe somewhere in mid-Asia or somewhere there, just by what you described. But you are in Vancouver, a very affluent North American city.
Yeah, always rated one of the top 3 most livable cities in the world.
Wow.
Just had the 2010 Olympics here, so the wealthy and the healthy from the world came to party in our backyard, and it was all down my streets. And it's a really interesting mix going on. So it really is one of the most inaffordable places in the world to live, really. But this 10 square blocks.
And they call that the East Side?
They call it the downtown East Side. And it's a beautiful place. I mean, I described the sort of the negative side of things, but it really is a beautiful community, a beautiful place. But it's sort of considered I've read it as the dark heart of the city, or the scourge of Vancouver, and just the place where subhumans live and all that kind of nonsense. And so it's actually been it's a political reality. It's a social reality that people were kept in this particular area to try and keep the drug and the AIDS contagion and the poverty all in one particular area. So that's where I'm living. And that's where our family lives. That's where our community all lives, within these 10 square blocks. And this is where we work and we pray. And so our neighbors are just, our neighbors are homeless. And our neighbors are drug users. And our neighbors are prostitutes. And that's intentional. That's where we choose. That's who we choose to have as our neighbors. That's who we choose to love. It's not an accident.
How long have you lived there?
We've lived here for just about 7 years, and our community's been here for 8 years. And where you choose to live is not accidental. It's not neutral. So that's sort of one point, is we actually have chosen to live in this area, and our neighborhood our community has chosen to live here. And so when your neighbors are hurting, when your neighbors need a place to go, when your neighbors are being picked up and raped, when your neighbors are being disappeared, when your neighbors are dying in dumpsters, that changes the way that what it means to love your neighbor, right? So we choose to love our neighbors by really getting to know our neighbors, so we know the names of the people on our street. And we eat with about 20 people a night. Anybody is welcome to come over to our house and eat. And so it's a mix of just people in our community and people coming off the streets. When we get to know somebody, if they need a place to stay, they can stay on our couch. They can stay for up to 30 days. And we do something called the Life Program, where someone might take their last hit of crack, just before walking into our house, and maybe they've had a bad date the night before, but they're coming in and someone's going to be with them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just someone from our community, sleeping on the other. We have 2 couches, so they'll sleep on the other couch, and they'll just be part of our community for that length of time, and then we move them into our transitional house that a couple of our people run.
Wow.
And that's just how we treat our neighbors.
Wow. And how they got into it, what their life currently is, and then lastly, I want you to speak into what's the reality of someone getting out.
Okay. There are some people who, I suppose, have chosen the life of prostitution, and maybe it wasn't something that they were thinking about as a kid growing up, but maybe that is what they're choosing. But I have to take seriously the fact that when polls are done, 92% of women polled say they want out. So I'll take that at face value. The stats worldwide are that the average age of entry into prostitution is 14, and the UN says if somebody is under the age of 18 entering into prostitution, that is by definition human trafficking, because they're not of the age of majority to be able to make that decision.
I think the UN puts out that 300,000 children are involved in prostitution in the U.S.
Yeah. No, it's massive. And we used to have in Vancouver a kiddie stroll, and that's now gone sort of underground. But we know that does happen as well. Most of the women
you just said a term, kiddie stroll?
Kiddie stroll, where kids are picked up.
Yeah.
Because there's always, this is the whole sex industry. It's, younger. The porn sites of barely legal. Well, there's a reason that those are out there. Yeah. It's because people really want illegal, but they're looking for barely legal now. Yeah. So almost all of the girls that I know who are involved in prostitution or have been started pretty young, and were sort of in various ways. I don't know if I'd say forced. Some were forced into it. Others were tricked into it, deceived into it. Others just kind of found themselves involved in this place, and for various circumstances, drug addiction, poverty, mental illness, just found this is something they had to do to survive. And so to get out of that, after a period of time, it's real hard to get out of it. And